Cool. Hi, everyone. Just while people tune in, I guess we will randomly talk shit. Probably take a while for a few people to get on board. So Courtney and I are going to run through some simple stretches that we do ourselves, not every day and certainly not every time we dance. So don't freak out when we start going through all these stretches and start thinking that you need to do them all the time. It's not true. If you want to
Sorry, Alice, I'm going to have to interrupt you and tell you to start again because I had you a bit muted.
Okay.
Learning technical
How can you
difficulties.
mute someone? What does that even mean?
I had your audio muted so it didn't make it out into the stream. So you're just talking to silence for a bit.
Great.
Okay. Goodbye.
Hi everyone. Courtney and I are going to be running over some stretches that we use to help our dancing. You definitely don't need to do this and then think, oh, I need to do these stretches all the time to be flexible, because that's definitely not true. We're just hoping to run over some stretches and help you guys to find ones that might be useful for you. So while we're doing them, think about, is there an area of my body that's particularly tight? Perhaps this is an exercise that I do every day, or something I do every day, like sitting down or being on your computer, and you're getting particularly tight shoulders or tight hip flexors, and maybe there's a stretch we do today that you think would help you to work on that particular area. We definitely don't do them every time we dance, but do a certain amount of stretching quite regularly. So if you want to know specifics around that, feel free to ask in the chat and we can talk about that towards the end. The most important thing today is to listen to your body. If you are feeling pain at all, then something's not right. You shouldn't be in pain. So ease off the stretch, or maybe just give that one a miss. And if there is an area that is really speaking to you and is not good, maybe you should talk to a physio about it. If it hurts, then don't do it. The most important thing about stretching is stability. So you don't want to be over flexing or extending your joints. We want to be in a stable position where we can feel the stretch without going so far that we're actually putting our joint in a compromised position. So Courtney and I will try and talk you through that today. Cool. We are going to get started with a warm-up, which is basically, it's very simple. It'll be waking the body up so that we're prepared for stretching. It's not necessarily going to make you super warm, but it will just get your joints mobile and ready. I hope you're in a warm space and, like me, have amazing warm fluffy socks on. Let's go. So I'm going to stand back here and hopefully you can all still hear me. We're going to start just standing with our feet about hip distance apart. I'm going to turn to the side so it's easier for you to see. We've got nice soft knees, have our pelvis tucked underneath us, and our shoulders go up, and relax your hands down by your sides. Take a deep breath in and raise your arms up over your head, stretching up as high as you can go. And as you breathe out, we're going to do a forward fold with nice soft knees. So the aim is not to have completely straight knees and touch the ground. The aim is to have nice soft knees so that we're warming up through the backs of our legs, and you're aiming to get kind of your belly down towards your thighs. So just relaxing here, you can sway side to side. Then we're going to rise up halfway, hands come to the top of your thighs, extending out through your head and neck so that your back is nice and flat. This is called halfway lift. And as we breathe out, we come down into our forward fold again. This time, bend your knees generously and roll up slowly into your standing position. Deep breath in, raise your arms up and overhead, stretching up high. And exhale, let it all go, forward fold. Oh, and then nearly fall over. Rise up halfway, warming up through the back of your legs. Exhale, forward fold. This time we're going to plant the palms. We're going to step back until we're in a downward dog position. I want you to pedal through your heels, warming up down the back of your legs. It definitely doesn't matter if your heels don't come to the ground. You can bend your knees and try and stretch through your back, just warming up your shoulders, pedaling through those legs. Then we're going to come forward, and you can either come down onto your knees like this, or you can come forward into a plank position and lower all the way down, hugging your knees, your elbows into your sides. From here, come to the top of your feet, press down through your hips and roll up through your spine into a baby cobra. So my butt is tensed here to try and protect my lower back. And relax down onto the mat. Curl your toes under, press into your palms, and either press up onto your knees or press straight up into a plank. Then we're going to go back into our downward facing dog, pedaling it out. And then we're going to go for a nice slow walk up to the top of our mat. Back into our forward fold. Just relaxing here down over your legs, nice generous bend in your legs. And we'll roll up through our spine again. Rolling up to standing, deep breath in, hands up to the sky. And as we let it out, we roll down into our forward fold. Lift up to a flat back position, halfway lift. Breathing out as you go back down into your forward fold. Palms come to the ground and we step back, either into our plank position or you can do into your downward facing dog. Just warming up through your whole body, pedaling it out. Then either lower your knees or stay in plank and come straight down onto your belly. Ripple up through your spine into a baby cobra. Breathing out, back down to the ground. Press up to plank or onto your knees and downward facing dog again. This time when you walk up to the front of your mat, I'm going to cross my legs over. This just warms up a little bit higher in my hips. I think it feels quite nice. And come to stand at the front of your mat, forward fold. And we roll up through the spine one last time. Big stretch, arms up overhead. And then shake it all out. I'm really quite warm now. Cool. So I'm going to hand over to Courtney to do the first part of our stretching. Go ahead, Courtney.
Perfect. Thank you, Alice. That was awesome. Safe to say, I'm a little puffed now. But we are going to start off our stretching with the lower half of our body. We're going to start from our toes and our feet, and we're going to work our way up. So to start with, we're going to do some toe curls. So you can sort of see my feet, and we're just going to curl over those toes. Keep the feet up and in a flex position for now. And then we're going to stretch out the toes. Sort of like you do with your hands, and you go like this. And then we're going to point. And then flex and bring them towards you. Next up, we're going to do a half butterfly or half straddle. You want one of your legs straight, one of your legs bent, nice comfortable position. And for now, we're just going to have our feet in relaxed position, so they don't have to be pointed, they don't have to be in a flex, just nice and relaxed. And we're going to lean forward. So a good stretch, we should be feeling it up in the side. If you need more of a stretch down into your calf muscle, flex that foot and bring it forward. Bring it in towards you, and you'll be able to start feeling that further down. Next up, we're going to concentrate on our obliques. So if you bring the distance between your foot and your leg a little bit wider so that you can fit your elbow in the gap. Essentially, I've got it mid-thigh with my elbow, and then I'm stretching my forearm on the floor. And then I'm stretching over. This is one where you want to make sure you're being conscientious of keeping your body turned out. If we come in to try and touch our toes, then we start to stretch the wrong thing and put our spine and shoulder in a vulnerable position. Let's look at that one. So you should feel this through your oblique, through the back. Now, and we'll do our other side. Move myself over so you can see. Alright, relax foot and come forward. Apologies if you can hear my hips popping at that same time. Hopefully it was quiet enough. And I fix that foot to get the calf muscles you hit in. Alright, we're going to put our elbows inside, to the halfway in the side, and switch over. Again, making sure that we stay open, and we're concentrating more on that spinal twist and opening, and trying to touch that. Next up, we're going to do that straddle stretch so that your legs both out straight. Depending on how flexible you are, it will depend on how open you can keep your leg. You don't want to be pushing it too far, so just a comfortable spot. Feet in a relaxed position and just leaning forward. But make sure that your pelvis is tilted so that you're sitting up straight. There's no rotational curve. And then we're leaning forward if you need it. If you don't, you can just stay up. It's all about stretching when comfortable. We're running through these quickly. However, a lot of the time you want, for optimal stretching, you want to be holding between 30 and 60 seconds. And that will help get that flexibility in there and make sure that you're getting into that stretch position where there's no resistance. Alright, we're going to come back up. Just leave a little bit of a shake around if you need it. So that the joint loosen up again, and I'm going to hand you over to Alice for the next couple of stretches.
From here, we're going to come up onto our knees. So if you want to pad your knee, like with a cushion or a towel, go ahead and do that now. We'll start with our left knee down, and we're going to bring our right leg up in front of us on a right angle. From here, you're going to tilt your pelvis forward so that you have a nice flat front of your hip flexor. And you should feel as you tilt your pelvis forward that this stretches up through here. There's a tendency in this stretch to just come as far forward as you can, but actually that can put pressure on your lower back, and it's much better if you can establish a nice, stable stretch here, and you get just as much, if not more, benefit out of it than if you were to push forward to like, oh my God, I'm so flexible. Actually, that's going to put your joints at risk. So we're nice and upright, and we breathe here. Switching to the other side, right knee comes down. We have a nice right angle with the floor, and we also have a right angle with our other knee. Remember to tilt that pelvis forward to establish the stretch. Don't try and just like force yourself deep into it. If you're finding that you're a bit wobbly here from side to side, you can widen your stance by moving your foot out to the side a little bit. And the other thing you should be thinking about is drawing kind of your knees together, like drawing your energy up through your midline. Draw your knees together and it will enhance the stretch and hopefully help you to be a bit more stable. Breathing here. This stretch is particularly important for me because I spend, well, like most of us at the moment, a lot of time sitting down and my hip flexors get really tight, but also because I managed to stupidly injure my hip flexors whilst doing the splits at Nationals 3 years ago and they've never quite been the same. Cool, we'll relax off that one, come to sit down. Drawing your left foot in towards the midline, bringing your right foot up and crossing it over. So your foot is flat on the ground, your left foot is pulled in towards your butt and your hips are on the ground. You're aiming to have both hips on the ground and your foot. If you're like this, don't worry, just try and be as stable as you can through those hips. Some people may find that this is more than enough right here, but if you want a little bit more, you can hug that knee in towards your chest, so with your left arm, and then we're going to breathe in as we come nice and straight through our spine and twist from your core, from your center, so that you're straight around your spine, and look back over your right shoulder to go deeper into the stretch. You should be feeling it at the side of your hip here, but depending on how tight you are, you may also be feeling it in other places. Breathing into that stretch. Breathing in to lift and lengthen, and breathing out to twist. Unraveling and switching to the other side, so we draw our right leg in. We're going to bring our left leg up and over. You'll find that you feel quite different on the other side. I think this is my tighter side, so it's harder for me to get my knee up. But we're still aiming to have both hips flat on the floor, our foot flat on the floor, and sitting up nice and straight. Totally fine to just stay here if that's enough for you. If you want to go a bit deeper, you can hug that knee into your chest with your right arm. Breathe in to come nice and straight through your spine, and breathing out, twisting through your core and looking back over your left shoulder. Breathe in, lift and lengthen. Breathe out into the twist. Unraveling again. We're going to come to lie down. This is always my favorite part of stretching. And you're going to bring your right knee in, left leg straight up. Hug that knee into your chest. You want to have like a bit of intention, a bit of energy through your feet. So I flex my foot here to be like, my foot is awake. I also have my left foot flexed. From here, keeping your left hip flat on the ground, going to extend through that left leg, right leg. If you can get it straight, excellent. If you can't, just a little bend in your soft bend in your knee and hold on to the back of your thigh there. Honestly, if this is too much, just stay here hugging your knee in. But if you can manage it, then you can come to hold your calf muscle. Trying to get that leg straight. If you flex your foot, you're going to get a deeper stretch. Well, at least a different stretch. And you might come to hold your foot if you are feeling particularly flexible right now. The aim is to get your shoulders down on the ground. I can feel mine coming up a bit, so I'm just going to hold on to my calf instead. And breathing into that stretch. It is honestly taken me years to get to this point. This was me for like the longest time, my knee bent in way back here. But over time with breathing and reasonably regular stretching, you can definitely make a difference. From here, if you want a bit more, hold onto your big toe with your thumb and your first two fingers, and you're going to bring that leg out to the side, keeping your hip flat on the ground the whole time. So if you need to, bring your left hand to your hip to remind you to push down through that hip. If that's far too much, then you can have that leg bent and then hand on the hip and just bring your knee out to the side. That will also stretch through the front of that hip there. Remembering to send intention down through the foot that's on the ground. Bring that back into your chest, hug it in, and switch legs. Bringing your left leg up, sending intention out through your right leg, squeezing it in. Give yourself a hug. And if you're feeling up to it, gradually starting to straighten through that leg. Hand is either on your hamstrings here, up on your calf muscle, or if you're feeling like it, up on your foot. Something that can be quite useful here is if you have a strap or like a belt or a dressing gown belt or anything, you can use that to enhance your stretch if you're finding it really hard to get your calf, for example, but you're okay holding onto your thigh here. So you could put a strap around your foot and just hold onto it to give yourself a little bit deeper of a stretch. Breathing here. And if that feels good and you want to go do something a bit more intense, take hold of your toe with your thumb and first two fingers and open that leg out to the side, keeping your right hip flat down on the ground. And if that's just completely crazy, keep your knee bent and bring your knee out to the side. Nice stretch through the front of your hip there. Bringing your leg back into the center, give it a cuddle. Then we're going to bring both knees up with our feet flat on the ground, starting with your right leg on the ground. Bring your left leg up and cross your ankle over your right knee. Then we're going to thread our arms, one of your arms, your left arm, through that hole, and your right arm comes around the other side, lift up, and grab onto your hand if you can. This is kind of like a configuration, like a letter 4 configuration. You want to be aiming to have your shin parallel with the ceiling and your knee kind of like a 90-degree angle. Also really, really important here that you keep your hips straight. I am totally guilty of twisting my hips to try and get deeper into my leg, but that is not going to help you. You want to keep your hips as straight as possible and just pull that leg towards you and push your knee away from you. If you can, if your body works like that, you can use your elbow to push your knee away. And if you want to go a bit deeper into the stretch, you can straighten through your right leg, so send it up towards the ceiling. Remembering the whole time to keep your hips flat as possible. Bending your right leg, foot comes flat on the ground. Don't unravel your legs yet. If you want to try this, then go ahead. But if you're not keen and you're feeling like things have been pushing it a bit already, then I just want you to hug your knees, both knees in, and let your legs fall gently to one side. That will give you a gentle back stretch. If you're wanting to try get this deeper IT band stretch, you want your right foot flat on the floor. You still have your left leg crossed over your right foot. And all you're going to do is roll onto the side, onto the side of your right foot, letting your left foot come flat to the floor. You want to keep your shoulders on the ground. Bring your right hand down to take hold of your left ankle. You can pull that in towards you and look out over your left shoulder. So you should be feeling a nice stretch up through your IT band here. You shouldn't really be feeling this up into your back too much. If it is going up into your back, then maybe just release and go into the gentler back stretch. This is one of my favorite stretches. I have a lot of tightness in my IT band, and this has really helped. I've found anyway that this helps with lower back pain for me. This must be an area of tension that's communicating up into my lower back from all the standing that I do at work. Awesome. So unraveling, coming to center, hug your legs in. And we'll come to the other side. So our left foot is flat on the ground. Our right ankle crosses over. We thread our arms through, taking hold behind the thigh. Thinking about keeping our hips flat and straight. Shoulders should be down on the ground. Pulling that knee in towards you and trying to push your right knee away from you. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can straighten up through that left leg. And if this is just crazy talk, then just bringing your knees into your chest and then letting them drop to one side, feeling a nice gentle stretch through your back. I find that this is a much nicer stretch if I look out over the opposite shoulder. And I also cactus my arm to the side. And I use my other arm to hold onto my knees. So you're aiming to get your shoulder down to the ground and your knees down to the ground. But be nice to yourself. If you're miles away, then don't worry about it. Coming back to center, giving yourself a big hug. And we're going to do something here that you can definitely skip if you want to, but I really enjoy it. So we're going to cross our ankles, take hold of the outer edges of your feet, and we're going to rock and roll through the spine a couple of times, and giving yourself a bit of a massage down your spine. And come seated, and then we're going to turn around. Bring your knees as wide as your yoga mat, well, if you have one, which is just a bit wider than your hips. Toes are together, and we're going to come forward onto our hands, walking them even further forward than your shoulders. Push your sit bones back towards your heels, and coming down into an extended forward child's pose. I like to do some rolling off my forehead here. I find it really helps with headaches. And I'll hand over to Courtney for the rest of the stretching.
All right. We're now going to move into a couple of upper body and shoulder stretches. We're going to start off by coming up a little bit into sitting or a kneeling position and threading our arms through so that we have it lying on the floor. You can make a little window with your other hand, or you can just rest it. Either way, we're going to be concentrating more on that shoulder that's on the floor. Slide up to the other side. And then back up. I will mention that shoulders are finicky joints. They do have a lot of movement and have the ability to do a wide amount of rolling and stretching. So we want to be very careful about not pushing them past their limit. That's when you end up with tears. And take it from someone who's injured their shoulder, you don't want to do it. It takes forever to come back right, and you're never going to get 100% before again. So our next point, actually, we're on the ground for this one as well. I should have thought about this and do that. We're going to be lying down. I like the way that Claire called this the don't shoot pose. You're like, don't shoot. So we want your shoulders. I'll sit up just to show you. So we're going to be 90-degree angle with our elbow and shoulders here. We just want to be bringing them back. Doing this on the floor so that you can see how much of your forearm is touching the ground is a nice and easy way to sort of work out where the flexibility is. And if you need more, start bringing your elbows towards the side. That'll make it harder. You won't be able to keep your forearm flat. And then if it's too hard at this point, you can bring them up slightly. So we're aiming for that 90-degree angle. So, laying down. And just breathing through this. This will be opening up your chest and getting a nice gentle stretch through the front of the shoulder so that we don't push it too hard. Breathing through. Making sure that our shoulder blades are touching the ground the whole time. Just come back up. Get into a comfortable position. A little bit of pushing the hips forward. A wobble. Then we're going to start doing some neck mobility stretches. Be up to straight, standing nice. Make sure we're on our sit bones. We're going to just drop our chin into our chest. Don't want to be forcing it. We want to make sure that our back and our spine stays straight. Start to put a bend in and then start to get a curvature of the spine, which will cause a not successful fit. I sort of like to move from side to side sometimes just to get the different part of my neck. And down into the shoulder. And then we're going to look up to the ceiling. Hopefully you don't take a light right into the face like I do. If you do, just close your eyes. And we're going to kind of back looking forward. And we're going to tilt to one side. Remembering to keep our shoulders down. We start to bring them up. This is good. If you need more, just drop the hand down onto the floor. And then the other side. This is a particularly sore spot for me because I spend most of my time sitting at work, so I tend to curl in when I'm typing. And this sort of neck stretch and light shoulder stretches, even across body, is also very good for just opening up everything that's in here and helping to counteract that sitting on a computer position. That's it for the standard stretches. I'm going to move into some extra split ones if you want to stick around. If not, you're welcome to take those with you. Frequency, I'm meant to stretch every night because of my body. I say I'm meant to, I don't necessarily do it. But I do like to stay every second to third night, just getting a little bit of movement through my joints. What about you, Alice? Do you?
I do yoga every day. Anywhere between like 5 minutes and 45 minutes. But most of the time it sort of averages about 25 minutes a day. I spend doing yoga, which is not all stretching. It's like balance of breathing exercises and meditation and stretching and strength. So I guess I don't classify that so much as stretching, although it will be helping with my flexibility and injury prevention. Probably actual stretching I only do if I'm working out, which is like three times a week. Occasionally I'll stretch after dancing, but only if I've got an injury that I'm worried about. I should stretch more after dancing.
That's why we do the cool down.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to move into split stretches. If you are leaving now, it was good to see you again. I'm getting so bored at home and I can't wait to see you. Yep.
Before
yes, yeah.
They're going.
And if you're going, next week will be a event with our taxis. We haven't probably got what yet, but we're going to have some of our taxis on the stream, and we will be doing something fun with them. So if you're not saying, see you next week. If you are, we'll move on to some extra stretches. A lot of these are ones that we've already gone through. So there are a couple of extra ones that I do. So I tend to do a sitting forward fold, where I'll have my legs flat on the ground and I'll come forward here. And I'll do it both with toes pointed and with toes flat. I like to do the spinal twist, and I also do one. I love this stretch. So it's either called the full pigeon or the square. Sorry, I just wanted to move on to you getting dressed.
I'm cold.
There's nothing wrong with it.
And then I started getting cold again.
So we're going to put our ankles on our knees and make sure that we've got like a nice square, and then we're going to lean forward. This gets your icy hands, your back, your bottom. I found when I was going through my splits journey, as Alice called it, that my back and my glutes were the things that were hindering the most. They were stopping me from getting the full range of flexibility in my hips. So that is why I do a lot of concentration on those while I'm stretching. You may find that it's not.
Yeah, everyone's different. For me,
it might not necessarily be that. It could be what Alice said with her hip flexors. It could be your hamstrings. It could be anything. But I like to do a lot of concentration on my legs if I know I am planning to split.
You definitely need to give a bit of love to the areas where it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So the areas where you're tight and probably it's not super comfortable for you to hold for a long period of time, but as long as it doesn't hurt,
yeah.
You can hold it.
So I've just swapped over.
Oh, look how high my leg is on this side.
It's okay. And if you are at the point where it's so high that you're not getting any stretch, put your knee and your foot into your hand, but into the top of your elbow. Just hold it there and try and get that bottom leg flat.
I have a bruise right here where my foot is sitting. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, avoid getting bruises. You then want to stretch your quads. I'm starting from my waist and working down currently. You can do your standard quad stretch where you just sit standing and you pull this way. But I'm just going to do one where I'm sitting. I just lean back and push forward with my pelvis. I'm not forcing this because that will put some pressure onto other joints. It's just enough to feel it. And then I would usually from here move into the child's pose, but we've done that one already. And we can do the other variation, which would be a closed leg, so a narrow child's pose, so you keep your knees closer together. And then you can also bring your arms backwards as well. I then move into my hip flexors and my hamstrings. So I do the hip flexor stretch that we did. And I lean a little bit forward, not to the point where we're looking at the graph, but just give a little bit of an extra stretch down into that quad. And then I will pull backwards, straighten that front knee, and lean in towards it. Depending on what you want stretched at that point, you can have your toes pointed and on the ground, or you can flex your foot and bring forward. So it's completely up to you. This works like the one where you're lying down and you're bringing your feet forward. I just find that I can get more of a bend in to get a more flexible stretch to the back. So then I'll switch over, do a quick little hip flexor point. And then I'll come through into straight stretch. And also do like to do the half pigeon. So I'll go from this and bring my foot across. It's usually straight at a 90-degree angle, but you can bring it in if it's more comfortable. You just want to push into this. Like with the number 4 stretch that Alice did, you want to make sure that our hips are sitting square and straight. You don't want to start to push or push.
It's also really important here not to crank into your back.
Yeah.
So like make sure the stretch is in your hips and you're not like pushing back to try and get a nice upright upper body. That can put so much pressure on your lower back and cause injuries.
Yeah. So you want it to be like a ski slope, more of an angle rather than like pull back. That will fit. And then we switch over. Feel free to help yourself with pulling.
Oh, this hip is so much tighter. I have a habit of just like sitting on this side, so this hip is real used to being tucked underneath me, but you really got to identify which sides of your body need help and then work on it, and this is something I have not worked on enough.
Yeah. And it's almost like you want to hold your stretches on your bad side just a tiny bit longer. So if you've got your stretch on your good side and you're holding for 30 seconds, hold for 45 on your bad side until they start to even themselves out. And then, if you want to, you can go into your full split.
I would recommend that if you don't have a full split, or even if you do and you're not quite warmed up, that you pile pillows underneath your hip so that you can comfortably sit in that split and you don't have to be putting a whole lot of pressure on your lower back or your hands to keep yourself there.
Yeah.
So, like, I will put pillows,
Or
the lever's back. No, other side. It will go under my butt cheek. And I will slide into my split, and I make sure that my hips are as square as possible. You can either flex through your toes or extend them. I personally prefer to sit with my toes pointed forward because it's good practice when you're dancing, because if you go into the splits and you have your toes up, it just looks real naff. So I practice with it done.
yeah, another one is holding and having yoga blocks to help support your hands. And you can hold them this way, or if you want to get into more of the split, go the other way. The good thing with dance is that you don't necessarily have to have it in a full split. So if you can get most of the way there, you can probably do a move with a split in it. You just have your lead or your follower is strong enough to support you. This is my bad side. Over and
I think this is my good side. I left it till last. Yeah, I don't really need the pillows on this side. So you don't want to be feeling any kind of pain when you're doing this. If you're feeling pain, prop yourself up, or just don't do your full split until you're quite happy with your other stretches.
Exactly. It's all about listening to your body and making sure you don't push it past its limits. If you want to get to the splits, you definitely can. You've just got to make sure that you're doing it slowly and not forcing your hips into that position, because you can do serious damage and you don't want to do that.
When I was working towards getting my splits, I did stretch every day for probably 15 minutes. I did split stretches. I made sure I was warm beforehand, and then I did my split stretches like religiously for 3 months, and then I could do the splits.
Yeah, I was the same. I stretched every day. I did full minutes of stretching for my legs every day. I did mine for about a month, every day straight, and then it was there. And yeah, there are definitely days where it's harder than normal, and I just don't push it as far at that point.
I guess the important thing is also that splits is not just about being flexible. It's also about strength, especially in dancing. If you wanted to go down into the splits and pop back up again, you need to have a decent amount of leg strength to be able to protect yourself in that compromised position. When Nathan once popped me down into the splits, and I was like, yeah, this is great. And then he did like a bounce thing. And in the video, this is like Nationals 2016, I reckon. Not long after that, I just like very, very obviously on camera go, fuck. Because it hurt so bad and I was trying to hide it. And yeah, I just wasn't strong enough to protect myself from a bounce split. You have to be careful.
Yeah, if you're wanting to do the bits where you come back up and you go back into the splits and stuff like that, in a thigh strength, like that's where the clenching and bringing all of that to bring it back up is where you really need to concentrate. Everybody can have that strength around and that power around in their glutes, but that inner thigh is what's going to be protecting a lot of that hip flexor point. So don't push it too hard, and please don't hurt yourself. Because we all want to be able to come back to dancing. Everyone wants to,
yeah. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I cannot wait to come back. That is all for this week.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, it was great to see you guys. Well, sort of.
Hope you enjoyed it.
It was great to interact with you guys again, and definitely keeping the same happening this Wednesday night. Always still happening. And we'll see you next week with the taxi fund. Once we figure out what that is, we'll let you guys know.
Cool. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.